Hello, welcome back to another episode of John the PM, where we believe that managing projects is not just a job, but a way of life. For today, I'd like to talk a little bit more on the professional side. What do I do, after I earn my PMP on the professional side? Before, I've already talked a little bit about the academic side, kind of talked about some of the things that you could pursue. In this episode, I'd like just to talk a little bit about the professional side. The professional side is a little bit more challenging. So I like to break it down into two parts. When I'm thinking about professional, a lot of people, they want to kind of put it on their resume, John Doe, Jane Doe, comma, PMP. That is a great signal to the right individuals. Most of the time, they're going to be government contractors of the federal government, major companies, corporations, general contracting firms, things of that nature. They will easily recognize those three little letters, comma, PMP, and they will reward you for it. Of course, when they hire you, they also expect great things. One of the advantages of going into a system such as that is that they're already wedded to it, they already understand it, and they expect you to know how to deploy it on those areas. So now they're not necessarily arguing about how we're going to deliver the product, but how can we do it in a better way and so forth. So those are all great things on the professional side. And if you go into a company like that, you can more or less expect that system to be set up. Don't take the arguments too far. So that leaves the other types of companies, salt of the earth companies, smaller organizations. Maybe they're outside the traditional IT, construction, government contracting. Maybe they're outside of that realm on those areas. Well, what I would surmise is that comma PMP should enable you to do your job better. Now, here's the problem that you may run into. You may run into a little bit of resistance. Oh yeah, the big boss brought you in because he or she wants the organization more standardized and things of that nature. That's awesome, great. But then when you start working with the individuals, you may find them to say, no, not here. And this is what I would ask you to do. One is hold the line. You are the professional. You are the PMP. And part of your role, part of your job is to train others, guide, lead, mentor, coach those others in these tools and techniques. On a personal basis, I would not suggest that you go in and say, hey, we're going to do the stakeholders matrix now, and we're going to use the Salines model, power, urgency, legitimacy, and we're going to define each of our stakeholders in such fashion in accordance with PMP. I might not necessarily go about it that way. What I might suggest is to kind of like ease into the conversation. Say that you have a list of stakeholders. Let's say that you've already covered that bridge and you've kind of traversed that river and you have a list of stakeholders. And now you just want to have a better understanding of, hey, what do we do with them? Perhaps just tell them, in a small setting, I got a framework that might be useful in this case. It's called the Salines model, but name doesn't really matter. Let's just see what happens on those areas, and then draw up your three concentric circles, and just put the key stakeholders in the proper places, and then use the proper methodology in order to deal with them. Let your results speak for itself. Let your results speak for itself. Sometimes people, they're captured inside the bowels of the organization, and they will say, hey, my organization will never do any of this stuff. Don't worry about that. Just look at your area, your circle of influence those pieces, and let the magic happen. I can almost guarantee you that people will recognize it. And when they start recognizing it and they ask you a question, hey, how'd you do that? Then perhaps explain to them a little bit more. In other words, pull them in gently on that side. Now, you do have to have the heart of a trainer, of a teacher. One of the analogies that I like to use with project managers is more or less be that kindergarten teacher. Wow, John, how do we get to kindergarten teachers? Well, if you think about it just for a moment, a kindergarten teacher has a 5, 6, 7 year old, and over the course of the year, that kindergarten teacher helps them to become an independent person in that regards. And in much the same way, you are also helping your organization, your teams, do the same thing. So, bottom line is on a professional side, if your organization is already standardized on it, awesome. They do expect you to know the methodologies and how to use them, how to deploy them, on those areas and maintain standards and things of that nature. But if you're in an organization that isn't, it ought to increase the results that you deliver, and you should be rewarded for those results. Okay, so just to kind of wrap this up, the question at the beginning that was kind of framed was what do I do after I earn the PMP? And what I basically did was just outline two chains of thoughts. The first one is more on the academic side. In other words, what other classes, courses, certifications I should take. But I don't want you to just stop there. I actually want you to use it. And that's where on the professional side comes in. More than likely you're going to run into two different types of organizations. One organization is standardized on it, and so they'll easily pick you up. They know what you are all about, but they do expect you to know the answers. The other organization, they see comma PMP. They might have heard about it somewhere, maybe in a HBR, Harvard Business Review, or some academic paper such as that, on those areas. But they're not exactly sure. And in that case, you have to remind yourself that you are the professional and you are the trainer. And you're there to bring them along and then let the results speak for itself. Okay, so this kind of wraps up this episode of John the PM. Don't forget to hit the like button, the subscribe down at the bottom. My staff would greatly appreciate it on those areas, and it helps us to help you deliver content on those pieces. Again, thank you and have an awesome day.